Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. I know I haven't been on or posting for quite a bit, but here I am. Today we're going to be talking about nutmeg. It's a rather interesting drug with a lot of active components in it that get you fucked up together. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Now if you guys don't want to hear about the chemistry of this drug, I recommend you guys skip over to the timestamp I have shown up now. So getting into it, nutmeg has a lot of active components in it. Those components are just chemicals that get you fucked up. Now, the first one is myristicin. Myristicin is the most common chemical that's found in nutmeg, and I wouldn't say it's mainly. I wouldn't say it's the main thing that gives the effect to nutmeg, but it's one of the main ones. Now, it's something known as a phenylpropene, which is just a class of chemicals that have a similar structure, and myristicin is one of them. Myristicin interacts with your endocannabinoid system. Now, for those of you that don't know, the endocannabinoid system is just like any other system, like your immune system or your nervous system, right? I think it's part of your nervous system, and I think every cell in your body actually. But your endocannabinoid system is used to manage things such as hunger, your mood, your pain levels, etc., etc. Now, like for example, when you get the runner's high, that's just because your body notices that your muscles are being damaged, and it's like, hey, this is not good. It's gonna hurt really soon. So it releases a bunch of chemicals that are similar to THC, which is found in weed, and those similar chemicals bind to binding areas in your endocannabinoid system and reduce pain, which is why people get that runner's high. Now, that isn't the only compound found in nutmeg. There's other chemicals such as, I have written down here, malabacrone C, lycerin A, and 5-methoxylycerin A. Those also affect your endocannabinoid system, but in a completely different way. Now, THC works by binding to two receptors, and probably more, but the two that I know are CB1 and CB2. CB1, I believe, doesn't get you high, but it's just used for it's just what CBD does. CBD binds to CB1 receptors, and it gives you that CBD effect. Блять, сука. Now, okay, I think he's done. Now CB2. Okay, he's not done. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but someone's causing a ruckus in my backyard. Now, CB2 channels, when they're activated, that's what THC binds to, right? That's the good fucking binding center. That's what gets you faded. Now, myristicin and THC both affect and activate, specifically just plain activation of CB1 and CB2, right? And that gives you that nice little stoned effect together. Now, the list of chemicals above, like the fucking malabacrone or whatever it is, like lycerin and methoxylycerin, those, they don't necessarily activate the CB1 and CB2 receptors, but they work on a different chemical in your body known as FAH, or FAAH. That stands for fatty acid amylase hydro something. Let me see if I have it written down here. Yeah, fatty acid amide hydrolase. Now, fatty acid, I'm not even calling it that, but FAAH, FAAH, basically what it does is after your body is done using its natural chemicals in the endocannabinoid system, like let's say let's say you're hungry, right? What your body does is it releases something called anandamide. Anandamide binds to the endocannabinoids, receptors around your body, and it triggers that feeling of hunger, right? THC also interacts with the endocannabinoid system and similar receptors, which is why you get the munchies, right? Now, FAAH is what's used to break down the anandamide, or the hungry chemical, after it's done being used. And what these other chemicals do, the malabacrone, lycerin, and 5-methoxylycerin, what they do is they stop your body from using FAAH. And what that basically does is stop your body from removing the endocannabinoids that you produce from your system after they're done being used. And that causes essentially like a buildup, right? Each time your body uses some endocannabinoids to activate certain receptors in your body, afterwards, when they're done being used, they get cleaned up by Fa. But since Fa is now deactivated, it's just gonna slowly start building up and you start getting high on your own fucking chemicals, basically. That's what happens. Now, the most interesting chemical I find in nutmeg is the god-blessed Elmacin. Elemacin. Elmacin. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but Elmacin.
Oh my god, what are you doing? Stop that!
Now, no one exactly knows why the fuck this shit works exactly, but it sort of does. It's similar to mescaline, if you guys know what that is, but it's like a precursor. It doesn't actually affect you. I mean, it does. It has an effect. It has a psychedelic effect, but by itself, I'm not really sure if it works. But in combination in this cocktail of chemicals, my current game theory is that like Jesus himself comes down. He inhabits your system, right? He comes in and he somehow activates this elemacin into working. And just like that, it causes hallucinations and mild psychedelia. So that's gonna wrap up this little chemistry lesson I have going on, now that you guys know how it works exactly. And we're gonna move on to the story. In freshman year, long ago, my 15-year-old self didn't have any weed, right? And that was fucking terrifying to me because, like, I was just getting a tolerance at this point. Smoking every day was just becoming like a sort of ritual that I would, comply with. So, not having some weed to, like, fucking smoke after school, or more than likely before and during school, was just terrifying to me, right? And when I was walking out, usually a period early at this point, I had a full, like, Jimmy Neutron brain blast of a moment. I realized, right? I looked up at the sky and I saw the light, right? It was burning my retinas. I looked up and I realized nutmeg exists, right? And we could use that. So, I don't really remember how I got the nutmeg. There's like a 50% chance I stole it. There's a 50% chance I bought it. Just, I don't know, whatever fits in your head canon. But afterwards, I came back home, and now the first time I did it, I did like 15 grams, right? And I weighed all of it, and it was a nice little high, or like trip or whatever. And honestly, I just felt stoned. I didn't necessarily trip too hard. I just felt a little stoned, like a nice little like an edible high almost. Now, a couple days later, the second time I took 19 grams, right? Which is only 4 more grams than the first time. But as soon as it started kicking in, like half an hour after I started feeling the come up, I got like violently stoned, right? Like the world was spinning. And I was starting to get visuals, which is the craziest part about this drug, because there's visuals, right? I felt so drunk and so stoned at the same time. It was like hard to do anything with my body. It was just hard to maneuver at all, right? It was like super overwhelming too. Like I didn't have any racing thoughts, but like it's like getting high for the first time all over again, but it's like 30 times as strong and it lasted 10 whole hours. Like, my head was spinning, my entire body felt super warm, tingly, and like almost numb, but like not really. Like, I could still feel things, but like pain was diminished. And I was super, super stoned, like beyond stoned, like violently so. I had the munchies like a motherfucker, but I literally could not get up to go get something to eat or drink. My mouth was drier than the motherfucking Sahara Desert, my guy. After this started to kick in and I was beginning to feel it, the come up lasted like half an hour. It hit me super quick, right? Normally it takes like 5 hours to start coming up, and it only took like 4, and the actual come up usually lasts like 3 or so hours, but it only lasted for like half an hour this time. I'm not really sure if I had like more potent seeds this time or what was going on, but god damn, them hoes hit, bro. Them hoes hit. At one point, I don't really remember too much because my memory got super hazy, right? The visuals were starting to get super strong. I was laying in bed, right? And I remember seeing like these white little crystally type like visuals, like almost like LSD, but if they were softer and only white. And it was like glowy crystals almost. And it came from my peripheral vision, right? And it slowly got brighter and brighter, and it would start covering more and more my vision. So it was like a kaleidoscope almost that started at my peripheral vision, and it slowly increased and it took over my entire vision. Like everything was like super glittery, almost. And when I closed my eyes, I would see like little like stars almost. It's like looking up at the night sky almost is what it looked like when I closed my eyes. And yeah, at that point, like I think I was greening out actually at that point. I don't even want to call it greening out. I was nutmegging out, bro. Like I could barely keep conscious. Like it took effort to like think. Like normally when you think, right, you just produce a thought. It just runs through your head. You don't really think about thinking. But I had to actively sit there and like try to put words together to think of a sentence in my head at that point. And I'm pretty sure after that I just fucking blacked out. Yeah, I just passed out. I had like a crazy dream that I don't really remember too well, but I know I had a dream. It's really weird. Like I know I had a dream. I saw something, but I'm not exactly sure what I saw. Next day, I woke up and I was still moderately stoned. It was like eating a 300 milligram edible, right? Like light work, right? And for the rest of the day, honestly, it just kept going. Like for the rest of the day, I just kept feeling it. Like I was stoned pretty much the entire next day. I went to bed and I woke up and I was still fucking stoned. But at this point, it was just like a mild buzz almost. I wasn't as violently stoned. But yeah, it lasted quite a bit of time too. So yeah, that was my nutmeg little OD story. I don't really remember too much, so I can't give too many details, but it was violently intense and I could not like keep awake for very long. I think the total like high time, like the total uptime I had was like 4 hours until I just knocked the fuck out. And that'll be the end for today's story. If you guys like the story, make sure to drop a like, make sure to drop a sub, right? Helps out a lot. A little bit of motivation to post more often. And now that I have my sort of new setup, I think I'll be able to post a little bit more often. Peace.